Hello. It is episode 270 of the Pro Synth Network live stream show, whatever you want to call it. We're back again, regular as clockwork, and we've got a wonderful guest for you today, although it doesn't feel like a guest. It just feels like, a mate coming on and having a laugh. But we're going to grill him and then toss him and, whatever. Yeah. Moving swiftly on, welcome everyone to the show. Welcome everyone that's in the chat. Hello. Hope you're well. Let me just take this opportunity, first of all, to say a big hello and hope you're feeling well to Mr. Matt Evans, who was rushed into hospital just the other day with suspected appendicitis. And whilst he was in the hospital, it turned from suspected to confirmed and then exploded. But he had his little operation at 2 o'clock this morning, and he's fit and well, and he's up and about, but they're keeping him for a couple of days because, quite frankly, Hayley needs some time off. So they're keeping him in until Sunday. But he is watching from, I don't know where he's watching it from his bed, from his chair, or maybe he's gone out for a smoke or something. I don't know. But anyway, he's all good. And so we just want to send him all of our best. So all the best, mate. And look forward to seeing you back where you belong very soon. So we are here to while away 2 hours before the weekend kicks in for proper, and we're going to do that with a very special guest. But before we do, can I just remind you, if you like the show, if you like what we do, give us a thumbs up or a thumbs down, whichever you prefer. And if you can do it during the show, apparently that massages the algorithm better than if you do it afterwards. Of course, if you're watching on catch up, still give us a thumbs up anyway. That would be fantastic. If you want to make a comment during the show, please do. If you're watching on YouTube, Facebook Live or Twitch, all of those provide chat facilities, and we will see all of your contributions. So please do comment. And if you're watching after the show, you're watching on catch up, then of course you can leave comments, particularly on YouTube, in the video or down below the video. It's all there. So we do like to read all of your comments, even the ones that talk to us sternly about our volume levels, which is a really odd thing because it just tends to be one or two people each week. So I'm just wondering if it's a weird thing that we have absolutely no control of. But anyway, do let us know in the chat, by the way, whilst we're live, if any one of us are too loud or too low, and we will try to remedy the fact, but we're not going to waste too much time on that because I watched the catch up and we all seem to be okay. Anyway, if you haven't already, give us a subscribe, because that way you get to be notified of all of the stuff that we're putting up. And there is going to be some more in between stuff, so not just the Friday shows, but I've got stuff that's coming in that I'm going to be hopefully doing some content on in between. So if you want to know when that happens, click subscribe and then click the notification bell. But even if you don't want to be notified, just click the subscribe button. It does, again, help generate awareness of what we do and have been doing for the last nearly 5 years. And also share us around. We don't mind. We're quite easy that way. Share us around and let other people know that that we're out there and they might enjoy what we do. If you want to support us, you can do it in a number of ways. You can use YouTube Super Chat, Super Stickers. We get a portion of what you donate. The majority of that we get. But of course, YouTube take a little bit. But of course, you can support us over at Patreon, where you can just pledge $2 US a month. And you get all the content that we put on there, which is exclusive to our Patreon members and YouTube channel members. That's another way you can subscribe to the channel and you will get exclusive content. I think last week or the week before, we put up some brand new sounds from our friend Mark Barnes. Let's have a look here. Let's bring this in. There it is. The ASM Hydrasynth bundle, 3 volumes, 100 custom presets for your Hydrasynth, completely free to our subscribers over at YouTube and also at Patreon as well. So that's what you get, and there'll be more content going up soon for various things. So that's Patreon. Of course, the other way that you can help support us is by buying merchandise. We have our own merchandise store, which has been running very successfully now for a little while, and we take a little cut off the top of the sale of everything that we have over there. So we've got our vest tops, we've got our Frankie Say stuff as well. We've got the bikinis, the bandanas, the posters, the candles, the T-shirts, the coasters, everything you'd expect from a cheesy merchandise store is there at very reasonable prices. So please do give us some support and wear your ProSynth Network merchandise with pride, as I am doing right now with my lovely coral. This is a special shirt that we had done. If I can just do this without revealing any flesh, we had this done for Superbooth. So Peter and I were walking around in these shirts. So they're very nice, very comfy, and very reasonably priced. If you have a comment or a question during the show, do prefix it with a big capital Q. That means that we'll be able to hopefully see it and chuck it in the question bin, and we'll bring those in. And I'm sure you'll have a whole bunch of questions for our guest today. So do please throw those in there. And if you use social media, we are all over most of the major platforms, but we tend to stick around with Facebook as our major one. But there you go. We're all on there at ProSynth Network. Thank you very much. That is everything. Coming up later in the show, we do have a brand new Synthspirations. It's a really, really good one, so do stick around for that. But of course, we do have our guest, who we will come to very shortly. First of all, we'll come to Mr. Longhurst. How are you?
It would really help if I unmuted.
Yeah. Thank you for your donation, by the way.
Send cake.
Indeed.
Send cake.
Are you well?
It's been a good, yeah, not bad. I've been tinkering a bit this week as well, I've been tinkering a lot more this week, doing more sound design, finding some stuff in here that I didn't know was there, and some new things. I'm going to be doing a few vids on that as well. But yeah, no, it's been a good week. And I'm really pleased that Matt's okay.
Yes, I think we all are.
Someone asked whether or not he'd sampled the bang when his appendix went off. That's what we all want to know. Good. Can we get that as a granular or something?
Yeah.
I don't know.
We'll throw it as a free sample in the Patreon page or something.
Yeah.
Nice one. Well, excellent. I would at this time normally go over to our other co-host for the show, but he's not arrived yet. I do believe he is on his way, but we'll hopefully come to him. So we'll go straight to our guest. It just feels weird bigging him up because he's...
Well, don't then.
All right, we won't. Hello.
I don't big... No, don't. I'm just taking objection. You call me a mate. Christ, okay.
Harsh.
Come on.
How are you?
I'm all right, thank you, everybody.
Yeah, good to see you, mate.
Good to see you. No, it is good to see you.
It's better.
Absolutely. No, anyway. Don't. You put the phone
down.
Are you
first.
well?
Are you now enjoying the time that's been afforded back to you?
Oh, do you know what? Honestly, I haven't stopped. I mean, it really does. It does. I kind of finished in, when was it, March? And I honestly, I haven't seemed to stop since. But no, honestly, it's all good. I basically have a life back. That's the bottom line. That even though I'm busy, it's not a case of I'm not in here every minute of every day killing myself. It means that I can get up in the morning. Realistically, I can kind of do what I want. I'm still down here loads, and I'm still doing. I can't call it work because it is work, but they're fun projects. They're things that we can talk about later. But they're fun things. They're fun things. So yeah, excellent. So I'm good. Thank you.
Anything new in the studio, or have you managed to unbox anything that you bought last year that didn't get unboxed?
Loads of that going on. No, lots of new things, because I think anyone that's followed any of the pubs know that there's one of the third. I hate saying it because it sounds such a wanky thing to say, but the third I'm not going to call it a studio. The third room that I've got here. Is going to be what we are calling the playroom, which is just going to be all the synthesizers plumbed in, ready to go, and it's just for inspiration. It's not really a work room. It's just for messing around with. But to do that, obviously takes a lot of organisation and planning, just to do with simple things like stands and how many you can fit in and where they'll fit and blah 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 blah. And I've been doing loads of that for weeks.
Are you
trying to get that right.
Pieces of paper?
Yeah. Well, no, I tried to do it the way with kind of laptops and iPads And I ended up just, the old-fashioned way of scaled paper, kind of graph paper and doing scale drawings was literally the way to go. But to do that, I also have to. I know. Oh God, this has another stupid thing. I have to find all the things that I've got that I've forgotten about or don't have a list of or
it's
whatever.
Like Christmas, isn't it?
Yeah. So I have honestly been just finding lots of new stuff and buying some more stuff. Because I'm kind of very aware that, because we all know, anyone that's got a studio, it's ever evolving, it's always changing, there's always going to be new things coming in, and with normal people, old things going out. That's the way normal people work, but unfortunately that bit in my brain doesn't work, so there's only ever new stuff coming in. So I'm trying to leave space and allow stuff for inevitably stuff that's going to be coming. So I'm just buying as much as I can now to make sure that it's kind of in situ. And lots of new stuff.
Do you intend for this stuff to fossilize around you? So in 60 million years, someone will write something. I don't know that has. I don't know about what. Where was I going with that?
I have no idea. I tell you the one thing I do know, and again, I've said this before, but it is really true, and it sounds a ridiculous thing to say, but to do this over the 3 rooms, it's like my dream, okay? But I know it's an absolute nightmare, and I know it's unrealistic, and I honestly know that I'll do all of this, and then in 12 months or 2 years' time or something, I will wake up one morning and just go, okay, that's it. It was a completely stupid thing to do, and I'll do what Junkie XL did and basically just sell 90% of everything. But it's kind of a process I've got to go through, because otherwise, if I don't do it, I'll always be thinking, oh, if only I'd done that, and I wonder what it would have been like. But I know it's a stupid thing to do, but I've got to go through the process, and I'll love it while I've got it, and then all of a sudden, in a couple of years' time, the market will be completely flooded with my rubbish. So yeah. But I'm cool. It's fun. It's fun.
Excellent stuff. I'm pretty sure that Lee and Steve both became members last week, and yet it's still lingering in the chat. But anyway, if I didn't acknowledge Lee and Steve for becoming channel members, thank you very much indeed. It's great to have you on board. Somebody was mentioning your projection on the ceiling there, and we had this very witty comment from Pat Brady. I thought it was the rolling cloud just hovering above your studio.
Yeah. I'm not paying however much it is for that.
I have no idea where Mr. Spong is. He's supposed to be here, but he hasn't arrived as yet. He hasn't even... hang on a minute. Let me just...
I would. Just give him a quick... Shall I try calling him at the same time? Are you texting him? Are you calling him?
Yeah, I'm gonna do this.
I'll call him.
There we go. I've just sent him a message.
This is exciting live streaming. He'll go through to answer phone.
It's really good. He probably won't answer. Oh, here you go.
Your call can't be taken at the moment. So.
Hang on. I think I'm getting a response here.
Oh. As he turned around, it's only that twat Ty Unwin on. I can't be bothered to get out of bed.
Yeah. So we'll just
ready.
We'll just carry on regardless. But we have got Mr. Unwin on the show today because he's done some work. Believe
there you
it or
go,
not.
and that's the end of the show. Thanks, everybody.
And we're off. He's done some work, and what he's been working on has been quite remarkable. And I've been watching, and many other people have indeed as well. I'm not entirely sure how available this is around the globe, but this is the brand new series of Walking with Dinosaurs, currently showing here in the UK on the BBC. I think we're up to, is it episode 3 this week? Or episode, I can't remember, is it 3 or 4? But there's 6 episodes, I believe, each focusing on different species of dinosaurs, species that we've not encountered before. And I know that, I guess, we're going to be talking to you about this. You spent a humongous amount of time. I bet you're probably sick to the back teeth.
I never
of-
want
of
to see.
dinosaurs.
I never want to see another dinosaur in my life.
Really? That's.
Yeah,
I mean,
I
isn't
mean,
that
well-
sad? They're
well, it is
incredible-
sad.
They're amazing things. Do
it
you
was-
find? I mean, do you find dinosaurs fascinating? As just forget the work business. Were you ever a fan of dinosaurs?
I was when I was a kid. I was obsessed. I mean, literally obsessed with dinosaurs. I was convinced that because where we lived, I've said before, was a little cottage with a big woods, and the woods was a huge forest kind
full
of
of
thing.
dinosaurs.
That was our garden. But I was convinced that I found fossils. Kind of, you'd have these huge craters, and I'd be digging down into it, convinced that I was finding fossils, and they could. Yeah, oh, you git.
Oh my god!
Oh shit! He's pulled his headphones out.
Oh,
This is going to be a clippable moment, I think.
oh my god! And the hair. Oh my god, he's got
Yeah.
the full whack. Oh, you.
He's done the hair as
Wow.
well. Yeah.
I know. Wow.
What's he do? Oh my god!
What?
We can't hear you because your microphone's not on. No, no,
No.
Can't hear
no,
you.
no. The
No.
dinosaur's chewed through the cable. Oh, he's just unmuted.
There you go. It's on there.
Hey, it's Kent Spong, everyone.
Hello.
And who's your friend?
This? Yeah. Well, the bloke in the pub said it was an ostrich. I'm not so sure.
Oh god.
Your hair, is
Your hair.
It's brilliant.
My hair is purple.
Yeah, we
Not
noticed.
as purple as
Yeah.
Fiona's.
Lilac.
She's gone proper deep purple.
Fiona's quite conscious, and she goes, "Oh, I'll just look like an old lady trying to grab onto youth." And I said, "All right, well, I'll dye my hair purple with you, and we look like a pair of prats together."
Yeah,
So
sorted.
there we go.
Lovely.
I didn't know I could ride ostriches.
Oh,
Very
here's us trying
good.
to be serious. Oh, he's going to try and sit down in that thing.
Dino's all
Yeah.
ass.
Don't pull your things out. Oh, you sport
Yeah.
the illusion now.
Oh! Kent!
Well, that's no fun.
Oh, brilliant.
That's it. Come and sit down. Come and be normal for just a few minutes.
Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
Perfect.
That's 40 quid you owe me, Robbie.
Well,
Yeah, all donations for today's show are going straight for the dinosaur
dare I
outfit
say
fund.
we Kent planned this, and we had a call about an hour ago, and he said,
Oh,
"This is the cue.
Yeah.
You got to say this line," and I completely forgot the line.
You must be fed up seeing dinosaurs by now.
oh
Yeah.
okay. Okay.
And that's
We
when
it all
I
makes sense
messaged
now.
Kent. It was like, "What's the fucking line? Feed me the line."
We rehearsed.
I know.
I sent you the final locked script,
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
which wasn't. It was soft locked. I know, but
Yeah.
yeah. So
Very
there you go.
good.
Yeah,
Very
soft
good,
lock
you
story of
lovely
my life.
people.
Oh,
You
Anyway.
lovely people.
Shall we become serious? Let's get a little bit serious.
No, we don't have
I
to.
must admit,
No,
the
but-
dogs enjoyed it a lot more. They thought it was hilarious. Well, except Siri, she absolutely shat herself. To be honest.
Oh, bless her.
Yeah, poor little thing.
Understandably.
Anyway, let's be a little serious, but with a little frivolity thrown in.
Okay.
As we said, Ty has scored the brand new series of Walking with Dinosaurs. The original series was a massive global hit, not scored by Ty. And I'm not saying that's why it was a massive.
No,
global
no,
hit,
no,
because it
no.
wasn't scored by Ty. But you are
No.
full of praise for the original.
Ben
orchestration.
Bartlett did the original score, and so I've spent the last, well, it's now a couple of weeks, basically just trying to justify to the world of super fans that no, I'm not Ben, and no, I don't write like Ben. And Ben's score was fantastic, but Ben's score was written in the late 90s, and it's very much a traditional score. It's very much of the Ben writes in a very kind of John Williams style.
Of course,
and
that was the era of Jurassic Park as well, wasn't it? So,
and it is very. I don't want to say it's very Jurassic Park, because Ben's better than that, but it is of that, very much of that ilk, very much so. And so when this series came about, one of the first things they said was, we don't want that. We don't want it to be the same as it was 25 years ago. And that's kind of why they had, kind of part of the reason they use me, because I write like me. And but of course, to the super fans, of which the original Walking with Dinosaurs has huge fan base and proper full-on super fans, and of course they've watched this one expecting the same kind of program. The whole program is completely different format, different show altogether. To be fair, if I'm totally honest, they shouldn't have called it with Walking with Dinosaurs, because immediately people are going to compare it to the first series. They're very different things.
Strolling with Dinosaurs.
Isn't this much more character driven? So each
so
episode is following
a character, and the dinosaurs are given names. Don't ask for my opinion on that, because I made my opinion clear on that the very first video I ever received. But they've got names. The main characters have got names, and there's also lots of modern day stuff with the science behind it, because it's made by BBC Science at the end of the day. So there's a lot of science to do with the excavation of bones and etc. They had none of that in the original, so it's a completely different show. But a lot of people just want Ben's score again. They want the big traditional brass tunes and big, huge traditional orchestrations, John Williams type orchestrations. And one of the first things they said to me were, please, they actually said, we don't want brass. They didn't want any brass whatsoever. Wow. So I had to kind of put a bit of a reality check on that, going, okay, well, you're kind of limiting yourself to say no brass. We want it to be orchestral, but no brass. So I got around that one. Another thing I kind of had to get around at one stage, they said, well, could we just have some of the original themes in, but not done, on brass?
So we don't want it anything like the first one, but then can we maybe have a little bit of
Oh, we had Welcome to My World. We had lots of this kind of stuff. But the reality is, it's a completely different kind of score. It's the way I write, and I was incredibly lucky that the team, as a team, were basically just saying, okay, we just want you to do whatever you want to do. So I kind of give them free reign to do, to just be, which was fantastic. It's what every composer dreams of. So that was good. But it was 12 months of, it took 12 months basically, and it was full on.
Yeah. So what I want to know is, I want to start at the very beginning, because apparently it's a very good place to start. So you get a call or an email. I don't know how these things work, but you get contacted and pitch the idea and ask if you want to do that. However, this works.
This was actually a strange one. So I'm in the incredibly fortunate position that normally I just get the phone call offering a job, really. So I'm very lucky, very fortunate. I haven't had to pitch for a job for almost 20 years, basically, since I last had to pitch for a job. And I basically had a phone call from a exec that I'd worked with for a number of years, and she was one of the people working on this. And it turns out that there was her and there was another person at the top, and they were both pushing, this person I worked with was pushing for me for the job, and the other person was pushing for who they'd worked with. And now this is normal in the TV industry. Everyone wants people that they've worked with before, that they can rely on. They know how they know how they work. And so this is perfectly normal. And after months and months and months of, one turning around and going, well, I want to use Ty, and the other one going, well, I don't want to, I want to use whoever. It kind of came to a point where they had to, with 12 months to go, they had to make a decision. And so at which point BBC Worldwide, who were basically publishing the project, came in and essentially said, okay, well, if the other person's willing to pitch, would I be willing to pitch? And having not pitched for a long time, there is an art to pitching. Pitching isn't just you just write a piece of music, so there is an art to it. So, but the main thing was with this one is the fact that there had to be complete anonymity. Anonymity. Yeah, okay, thanks, patronising gits. And we
You're most welcome.
Thank you. And so we couldn't know who was who when it came to the actual judging. So we each of us got sent about 15 minutes of footage that was in quite a rough stage, because obviously it's 12 months from being finished. And we had this footage, and they wrote their 15 minutes. I wrote my 15 minutes. I think my code word was... Christ, what was my code word? Egg? No. Egg, which is... Oh, Christ. Why is it egg? No. Egg.
Is this your condom?
No. Think of two things to
code
do.
Word
Which
or
comes
safe
first?
word?
No.
Safe
No. Egg. No. Egg. Which came first, the chicken or the egg? There you go. Mine was egg. Theirs was chicken. So all when we had to send these off for the pitches off, it was so ridiculous, because you obviously have to write the text on, but we can't put anything on that's going to in any way influence, so they know which is which. So you're writing this, kind of clip one, wherever the name of the dinosaur was, and then it's got in big capitals egg, and yeah. Anyway, I don't know who it is, and we still don't know who it is. They sent their pitch, I sent my pitch. Fortunately, I got the job, and which was great, and it was quite unanimous, which was fantastic from my point of view, because if I'm totally 100% honest, as I was doing this, because I had a bit of time off, and I wasn't used to pitching, and every time I'd do the writing and then just kind of go, this isn't very good. I'm not that keen on what I've done here. And you know when you're working on something, you know if it's good or not. I don't care what anyone says. You know within yourself if it's really good or not.
You do.
And I just wasn't convinced. I just didn't think it was that good. And it got to a stage where, it was just, do you know what? I'll just do it. And if it's good enough. And there was a date when we were going to find out who got the gig. And I'd booked a table, and I'd actually got to a stage where it meant if I didn't get the gig, it was absolutely fine, because it meant I had 12 months to do all the things I was meant to be doing. I was meant to be finishing Midge's album. I was meant to be redoing the studio. So I had 12 months of it was fine if I didn't get the gig. And then if I did get the gig, it would be 12 months of living hell. So either way, but I get paid for it. So either way, I kind of saw it as a kind of win-win situation. And then when I got the gig, I literally just went, oh, shit, it's living hell. But to be fair, the first 3 or 4 months were okay, because I was just getting bits of footage and there was no pressure. And it was all very kind of, yeah, that's a great idea, but maybe we could, it was all absolutely fine. And then it kind of got to October, and that's when the reality suddenly kicked in that I've got this almost 6 hours of music to write. And the picture was just... I'm skipping ahead now, but basically the picture was just changing so often. I'd literally write a cue, and then by the time it had been and laid in, that everything had changed about it. And then I'd get it back, and they'd go, great, now can you make it fit this time? And you'd rewrite it, and then they'd change it again. And a week later it would go, oh, can you rewrite it again? And that went on and on you're trying to write new scenes and then address old scenes.
Yeah.
And it was the last 6 months were really, it was just like, I mean, I've described them to you guys individually as it was living hell for the last 6 months, just because there was no sleep involved. And it was just, it was.
Well, what I want to know is, how do you start on a project like this? So you've got the gig. What's the first thing that you do? Do you wait for the footage to come in and then start writing to that, or what's your preparation in terms of your studio, your workflow? I'm assuming you have templates coming out of the wazoo for all sorts of different situations, or do you have to create specific templates for these projects? How do you actually start your process in something like this?
Personally, it's all about the template for me. Because I've said before, a lot of the time, I'm very fortunate. The world is my oyster in terms of what I've kind of got to work with. But I've always said that limitation makes you work in a certain headspace, and limitation's a really good thing. So I spend a long time talking with the team, talking about sound world, things that, joke aside, what they do, what they don't want. They don't want big brass. So, I kind of just work on a template, and this time it took weeks. I mean, really weeks to work on, to get the template right. Mainly to do with scale and size of the projects, because, you can have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of tracks, absolutely, but the size of the libraries that I'm working with are huge. And there's the amount of streaming that's going on within the system is vast. And I actually got a template that I was really happy with, and it was, I can't remember how many tracks it was, 200 and way over 200 tracks of various, because it's not all orchestral. It's kind of, it's a complete hybrid between, there's a lot of orchestral stuff, but there's also a lot of synth stuff, all in the box. We'll come back to why in the box later, but it's all in the box. And it was a huge template, and it was fantastic. But what you have to think is, you can't just think of that template for that moment in time. You have to think further ahead, which is, if you skip forward 9 months, when you're changing tracks, when you're going from one queue to another queue, you have to allow the amount of time that it takes to A, load the template in, and B, believe it or not, to shut the template down. Because the way it works with the system is, there's so much streaming, but the way streaming, I'm sure everyone knows, but the way streaming works is it loads in a lot of the beginning sections of the samples, and then in real time basically sticks the ends on when you're playing notes. So it doesn't load in the entire library. It just loads in the beginning section, preloads, exactly that. Now, if you've got, it's trying to preload gigs and gigs and gigs and gigs and gigs of stuff, it will load in that template. So I load the template in, but you could be sat there waiting for 20 minutes for it to all become playable. And vice versa, when it's actually shutting that template down, is shutting that project down, it can take 7, 8, 9 minutes to actually get rid of all that crap and start again. Now, that sounds fine in itself, but when you get to the pressurized section, i.e. the last couple of months, that 20, 30 minutes that it takes just to load a template and load a project and shut down a project becomes vital, because a lot of the changes that need to be made towards the end are very little changes. It's literally, can you take out this piano note? Okay, which is fine, but you've got to factor in the situation that to change that one piano note, I have to load the project in. I have to delete the piano note, shut the project down. Now that can be 20 odd minutes, half an hour to change one piano note. And when you're working to a deadline, a schedule, you can't allow half an hour just to change one piano note. So sorry, I was only going to say, so what?
Go on.
So what happened was, I had to be realistic, and I had to I had to hone down this template, because there was lots of, for example, something like a vibraphone. I'd have 3, 4 slightly different articulations on a vibraphone, and then you'd sit there going, come on, be realistic. Do I need 3 or 4 variations? And so I honed it down to, I think it was still 100 and whatever tracks, but I honed it down, and I got my loading time up to about, I think it was about 8 or 9 minutes, and I got my shutdown time to about 3 minutes. So,
a question for you. I know you're using Nuendo, yes?
Yes. Yeah.
So you have the option there to also freeze tracks. Doesn't that, if you freeze the tracks and then you can just unfreeze the ones you need, doesn't that reduce the amount of loading time? Or
no,
the way how you're working.
That's not the way I work. Basically, everything needs to be complete. I work very much. I kind of get. I work linear. And then I literally, like mind-wise, I switch automatically into that. And so it would take more time and effort to be freezing tracks, then unfreezing and changing a note, then freezing, then unfreezing. For me, it just all has to be accessible and changeable all the time. It's just the way I work. To actually freeze tracks for me would slow me down enormously. So believe me, back in the day when I didn't have the power, I lived with freezing tracks. But it doesn't work that way for me, because I'm changing things constantly, even on stuff that I've worked on. I'm listening back to it, and every time I listen back to it, I'm changing things. So, yeah, that just slowed me down. Believe me, I've tried it.
Talking of power, what are you running all of this on?
Well, this one was all done on. Again, it's the fact that I've tried to keep everything in the box, because you can't. From the way I work, and because of the way that you're constantly going back to tracks and changing them, it has to kind of all been instant recall of everything, literally everything. And I used to do it with, deal with, like we've all done before, with MIDI program changes using lots of external hardware. But it's kind of it's quite an unreliable way of working, to be fair, because there's so many things that could go wrong. Whereas I kind of found, when you're doing something like this, keeping it as much in the box as possible. And if you do use external hardware, which I did use external hardware, but actually treat it as audio recordings and get it down as audio. So the main machine that's been done on is on whatever the latest Intel Mac Pro that was completely spec'd up. The machine, when I bought it, I think it was about 25 grand or something like that. So it's an expensive, it's the very last of the Intel Macs with all of the expansions, apart from the 2 stupid graphics cards, which I don't need, with the maximum amount of memory, the maximum amount of RAM, the maximum amount of everything. But the reason I've had to stick on Intel is the fact that I've also run a Nuage system, which is the controller for Nuendo, and Nuage won't run on silicon processors. Right. So I can't update this until they either sort that out, and if they don't sort it out, then I've got to move away from Nuage. But this machine, don't get me wrong, it's an incredibly powerful machine. It's it's great.
Now, I mean, I've watched the show, I've listened to the music, and yeah, there is, as you said, there's orchestral stuff going on, and there's synth stuff going on. Did you ever, for a moment, consider using an actual orchestra? Is that something that's in your toolkit that you can? Yeah,
of course. I mean, I could if I wanted to, but there's 2 things to consider. There is the fact that when you use a real orchestra, for the way I work, it slows things down. It's perfectly possible to do a full score, and and if I did that, I wouldn't physically have the time to do it. I'd have to get a copyist in, which, again, the big thing about this project is, and we can talk about this, about the way the industry is at the moment, and the fact that the days of one person doing bigger projects like this, it's normally a team that do all this. But I'm essentially, anyone that knows me know, when it comes to this, I'm a bit of a control freak, and so with this, every note, everything is just me sat here. I could have easily got real players in to do certain things, but A, it slows you down. B, so often in the past when I've worked with real orchestras, I'm not saying I'm disappointed, but again, because I'm a control freak, the interpretation, no matter how much you notate this, because I've been doing real orchestrations with real orchestras since I was a teenager, but they often don't quite play it how I want it. And I would spend so much time with real players, just literally specifying every detail, that I'd get nothing done in one session. Basically, I'd get 3 lines done with them playing exactly as I want it. The other thing is, what you don't really understand is the cost of a real orchestra is fast. If you're not going to be going to Czech Republic or kind of Prague or Bulgaria or something like that, a real orchestra over here, even there, it's incredibly expensive. We're talking tens of thousands for a handful of sessions. Over here, it's really, really expensive if you want to use English players, or it's the same with the States if you want to use American players. And this, although don't get me wrong, I'm not, I was paid good money for this, but if I did that, if I use real orchestra, I would use all of my budget and more to get a real orchestra. And I could tell you so many stories of people who have paid to have real orchestras on their tracks and have basically made a loss on their work just to use a real orchestra. For me personally, again, anyone that knows how I've worked and I've done my entire career, I've invested huge amounts of money on a weekly basis to have every kind of library known to man, because again, it's the control freakery that I need to be doing it. And so I have, whatever the best libraries are out there, I'm incredibly fortunate enough to have those libraries, and so I'd rather just do it all myself and just again, it's the control freakery in me.
Yeah.
But yeah, of course I could write for real orchestra. That's
and just so people sort of get a sense of this, a session for a real orchestra, they tend to do them in chunks of time. You would book a real orchestra. Sorry about that. You book a real orchestra for essentially 3 hours to start off with.
Yeah.
And a 3-hour session will cost you somewhere. 50-piece orchestra is going to cost you between, I don't know, 7 and maybe 15 grand.
That's cheap. That's cheap. Honestly, that would be cheap.
It is.
Yeah.
But then you go over the 3 hours.
Oh, you're fucked. Yeah.
It's you end up paying these enhanced rates and all sorts.
The reality is you don't go over the 3 hours. That's the reality. The reality is
right.
The moment you're up to 2 hours and 59, no matter where you're at, you basically stop. Because if you start going into the extras, honestly, the price is it's ridiculous.
And the other reason that people are using you is because you're giving them that sound, and they can make those changes right up to the
last minute,
to the 11th hour, as it were.
This is the difference. Because of the nature of the way this film was being done, it was literally on the day of the dub, I was still sending down changes on the day of the dub. Now, if you've got a real orchestra, you're limited to audio recordings, which means there's a limit to what you can change to make fit, because the picture was constantly changing. There were so many issues from a graphics point of view, because a lot of this program is very much CGI orientated, and there were so many changes and compromises being made from that point of view. It was changing towards the end. It was changing on such a regular basis that if all I had to work with was audio recordings, we would have been not screwed, but there would have been a lot of compromises to make. And I won't compromises. It's not really, doesn't really function in my head. So for me, the fact that I could change everything that wasn't audio meant that was a big thing. Yeah.
And at what point in the series, the sixth episode, Island of Giants or something like that, Giant Island, it's got all the big super huge Asaurs, one of whom has balls growing out of his head, which was brilliant. Somewhere in there, I was listening back to it, somewhere in there, I noticed you introduced a banjo. I was so grateful.
Well, ironically, there is a banjo, yeah. And ironically, that actual episode was one of the first cues that I got given in the pitch, basically. So a lot of that is based on part of the very first pitch. But the reason there's a banjo, yeah, I can understand the entire world is going, why the hell did you put a banjo in? I don't really have an excuse, really. I think maybe I was bored on that day, and I just
say the dinosaur was called Cletus.
Yeah, no, I tell you, yeah, very good. The only reason is, I tell you what it is, genuinely, is when you're working on something for 12 months, and I've had this conversation with Kent and Robbie so many times that I'm used to working on projects fairly short term, which means that I don't get bored that easy. Okay, I get bored quite easily, and I worked with the same template for 12 months. I don't work with the same template for 12 days, and after 12 months of the same template, every now and again there were moments where I just went, oh, do you know what? Sod this. I'm bored with this. I'm just going to put something random in. There was one point where I put in whoever wants panpipes? And so I put in panpipes. Whoever wants some charango? So I literally got bored and just went, oh, do you know what? I'm going to put a charango in. So yeah, there are odd moments. And I'm not saying it's through boredom, but it's more a case of every now and again, it's nice to have a little something that just takes you out of where you're comfortable and out of that zone. And banjo, whatever it was, that day it was banjo. What more can I say? It was,
Where was the DX7, by the way?
There is one in there, and I promised you I would do it, and I can't remember where it is now. But somewhere in there is a DX, and it's not. I'll find it. It's not a bell. It's not a bell this time, but there is a DX7 in there. I did promise I would. Yeah.
So I want to know, because like this series,
doing requests.
There is a focus, as there is on most of the shows, but there's a focus on particular breeds of dinosaurs, and it started off with a very cute orphan little baby triceratops, and so you're given a synopsis of each episode maybe in writing, maybe there's some visuals to work with. How do you go about picking not only the instrumentation but also the themes for each of those animals?
So what happened was on this one is the fact that there were three very separate areas. Initially, because it kind of keeps skipping from the dinosaur footage to the modern day, the digging. Initially, the idea was they didn't want any music over the digging at all. Which I always thought was such a stupid thing. It would have completely broken up. It wasn't right. And they realized quite early on that wasn't a good idea. So we then have three areas. We have the overall theme, which is basically the equivalent of the Jurassic Park theme, shall we say. Yeah. So there is a series theme. Mm-hmm. Then there's the individual character themes for the main characters in each episode, and then there are the digging themes. Now the digging themes, by their very nature, essentially there's lots of VO, there's lots of they're talking what they're doing, so there's no point having anything fancy in there. So they are a lot of kind of what we would just call normal beds. There's not a lot of anything really interesting happening there. The character themes, I basically had some very rough footage of each show. And when I say rough, right down to some of it was literally just drawings on the screen. They were literally just drawings. And you know that one that we always joke about where you see these kind of CGI programs where there's a man, and it was literally a man with a huge pole with a little green tennis ball on top. Yeah. And he's walking along, and that's meant to be the head of the Brontosaurus, that kind of thing. So it goes from the extremes of some very early CGI to drawings and men walking around with tennis balls. And so I got each program, I got all these different scenes. And from that, I wrote essentially half a dozen themes. So I would look at the one with the little baby Triceratops, and it was just like, okay, I'm going to write the baby Triceratops theme. And that they were basically approved. And then they would, and there were a couple that weren't quite right, didn't quite work, but it's never a problem because with this kind of program, there's so much music that as I said, there's not far off. By the time I do different versions, because it's not just the UK version, I have to do international versions. There's just under 6 hours of music, and so there's so much to do that even a theme that wasn't, they said, oh, I'm not really sure if this one works with this. You're there going, that's not a problem because that can be used in so many other areas of the score. And then I did the main theme basically, which for the kind of the series theme. And so it's almost a case of there will be certain points in each episode where that theme, apart from just obviously the beginning and the end, there'll be other sections where it felt less character driven. It felt more thematic for the kind of the whole series. So that theme would be used there. And again, it's never a case of you just take the track and go, okay, well, I'll use this track here. It would just be like the combination of the chord structure and all the melody line, or sometimes just the kind of feel of it. And and you basically kind of work out as the film develops and the film moves on, you work out what themes go where. But if you actually listen to a full score without any VO of an episode, you can actually spot the bits where you could almost go, oh, okay, the main character's here because the leitmotif is, there. I try. The thing is with all of this, I try to keep it quite subtle, and I think this is in some ways this is where some people kind of just don't kind of get this, because it's not huge. It's not that huge and that bombastic. Don't get me wrong, there are moments that are absolutely huge, but there's a lot of subtlety going on, and it's like the thing with the synths. Unless you actually know, it kind of feels like an orchestral score, but there's a huge amount of synth stuff going on, huge amounts, but it's all quite subtle, and it's quite a subtle score, really. I mean, I quite like it.
Yeah, no, it's good. Is there a theme within the theme? So, I mean, you've got your main theme, and then you've got your individual themes for the animals, or the episodes. But is there DNA that links all of them together?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, there is. It's very smart ass. I mean, it is. There's a lot of there's a lot of stuff that you learn at when you go to music college and when you go to university, and all the kind of stuff that you kind of don't have to use a lot of the time. But when you're working on a big thing like this, there's a lot. It's the satisfaction. I mean, that's the reality of it. I think the problem is with me is that I do what I do because I love the satisfaction of it. I love the process of it, but I love the fact that I can listen to stuff that if you listen to it one or two times, you don't get it. I love the fact that back in the day when I was younger, I wrote very serious modern art music, what we call modern art, classical music. So, and for a lot of that was very smart ass and very clever and very up its own bum. And it's nice with something like this that I can do all the kind of more accessible stuff, but within that, there's a lot of very clever shit going on. And even though people won't hear it, I love the fact that it's there. And every now and again, it's a bit like when I did Orchestrated, the Midge thing is the fact that I like it so that every time you listen to it, you will hear something new, or you'll suddenly go, hang on a minute, and you'll suddenly go, isn't that bit the same as that bit there? And you haven't heard it before. And that's all very self-satisfying. It's the reason, and I've said this time and time again, the actual writing the music for me takes, I don't know, an hour. And a lot of for a track, I don't know what, just say an hour. A lot of TV composers or film composers will get to that hour and go, okay, that's fine now, that's done. And I'm there going, no, it's fine, it's okay. And the reality is, within the context of the TV, with the voiceover, with all the sound design, with all the sound effects, with everything, no one's going to hear the difference. But I'm not 100% happy with that, because I've always tried to make music that if you can listen to without all the other crap. I want a piece of music that stands up as itself, as a piece of music. And so then, and I'm my own worst enemy because I'm a perfectionist, I will then spend another 8-9 hours doing all the little bits of cleverer shit that no one's going to notice. And it's a complete waste of time. But when I finish that, rather than after 1 hour, I finish it after 8 or 9 hours. And I'm happy to let it go, because within what the general track was, there's loads of little bits of, cleverness.
Yeah.
But it's me. It's all I can do.
And we expect nothing less. We've got a few questions. And what I want to do is I'm going to throw some of these questions at you. That will hopefully take us to around just after the top of the hour, and then we'll give you a little break because we have a Synthspirations episode to show you. It's a really good one this time. So let's see, what have we got ahead? Talking of our Synthspirations, it's coming from this individual, and I hope it's I know Gerard is his name, but he prefers to be called Gare. I don't know. I apologise if I've messed it up.
Sure.
Anyway, did you ever max out your system during the project? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
What
Absolutely.
happens then? Apart from hacking yourself.
The first thing, no. The first thing is basically change the latency to 2048. So the latency, that's the first thing. That just for that track, the latency suddenly, and even then, I completely. It was quite a big moment. And if you actually looked at linear, it was almost like every single track was playing something, and a lot of that, there was a lot of big chords going on across the board, and I ended up with that particular track that the only way I could do it without maxing it out is when I exported it, I had to export it out in real time. It's not such a hardship, but it meant that I had to trust the system, because when you max it out in real time, something internally, there's some kind of buffer or something going on, and so it didn't max out. But actually, as I was working on it, every time I got to that particular section, it was literally like 2 seconds. Every time I got to that, I was just like, okay, stop it, go beyond it, and to try and do it. But yeah, it is possible to do when you just get slightly excessive.
Yeah. Half God, half beast. We were talking earlier about the load times and the unload times. Why not leave the whole system on? Is there a specific reason why you don't just leave the system on?
Oh, no, the system is on. I mean, these are projects within Nuendo. So Nuendo, the system is left on 24/7. Absolutely left on 24/7. This is literally just when you load the project on, it basically, the way it works in Nuendo, and I don't know whether it does it with other doors, but with Nuendo, it basically, I'm sure it does, it loads a completely clear, blank project. When you then load on the project you're working on, it loads in all of those millions of little samples in there. But to load all of those on, no matter how fast your drives are, and to take it all off, it has to clear it. So it's all the time to do that. The biggest problem I really had across, and the scariest thing, and I had conversations with Kent about this, there were some projects, and I'm sure the people have this with other doors, that for no reason whatsoever, somewhere in there would get corrupted. No reason, no rhyme or reason. So I'd be working on a project, and I would have done it in July, and then come November, I had to go back and rewrite some cues on that project. You try to load them on, and they just wouldn't load. And there's no reason. Nothing could change in the system. That's why I had to have one template across the entire 12 months, so that nothing changed, so it wouldn't do this. Yeah. And it just wouldn't load it. And I wasted so many days trying to get things to load, and there was no way of finding out realistically what it was, but something had got corrupted within that file and was stopping the whole thing. That cue was basically gone completely. There were some cues, I shouldn't really say this, but there were some cues on there where it ended up where it is actually just an audio MP3 of a really earlier version from like 6 months earlier, that I then have to load on and try and do with the audio and write over the top of it, if that makes sense.
I see. Yeah.
To try and get it to work, but that takes huge amounts of time. And
what's your backup regime?
Anyway, moving on.
We need to have a chat.
Come on.
Yeah, no. I'm the world's. My teacher once turned around to me and said, when I was a kid, that if you dropped me out of an aeroplane without a parachute, I would be the bastard that landed in the haystack. Everyone else would drop to their deaths. I'd be in the haystack. And I've kind of lived my entire life kind of like that. And I have to say, it's something I'm very ashamed of, because I think it's incredibly important. But I'll tell you why it is mainly, it's the fact that the amount of data I have in terms of sample libraries and whatever is huge. It's no excuse. It's huge. And but to back up everything in a completely professional and easy way of kind of getting everything back would be, it's just such a huge project. So I prefer just stick my head in the sand. And I've always worked on the assumption that I've always said this. I've always just turned around and said, if I lose everything I've ever written, of the thousands and thousands of pieces of music I've ever written, if I lose it all, the way my head works is, well, I'll just have to write some more. That's honestly the way my head works. I don't see what I do as being as being precious or special, or it's work. And don't get me wrong, I'm proud of it, but it's just music. So if I lost everything tomorrow, I would just try and go, best write some more stuff then. So yeah. So sorry, I'm a bit of a twat like that. Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
It's interesting to know. It's interesting to know. Andrew Brooks is in the chat. He's not very well at the moment. Bless him. He's one of our moderators, but he's donated a £5 to the cause. Thank you very much indeed. And says hi, Ty. Thank you for that. Good to see you back in there. Conrad wants to know: will the score be getting a proper independent release? Does that happen?
I have no idea.
Do you have
I'll
control
be
over
honest. It's one of those things that you tend to find that people, when it does get released, it's the people that do it that kind of push for it to get released. And it is possible. It's all signed up to BBC, and it's all perfectly possible. But I would have to try and make that happen, if that makes sense,
Right.
which involves effort on my part, because a lot of these cues, people think that a music score is made up of one long, beautiful, flowing score. It's not. It's made up of lots of individual things. And for me, if I was going to do it, you'd have to do it properly, which means that some of these cues that are like 2 minutes long, they'd have to go back and be rewritten so that it's a proper piece of music. It's kind of 5-6 minutes long. So I'd have to put a lot of time and effort into that, which means that I'm not going to push it, because it sounds so awful to say I'm not bothered. People on here, I mean, I've said it before, I don't have an ego. I mean, people laugh at this because they then go, God, you're the most egotistical twat I know. But I don't, when it comes to the music, I don't have an ego. I've no urge to get my music out there for everybody to hear. This is why people like Rich Hilton, for example, bless his socks, he's there going, where can I get to hear your stuff? And it's just like, well, I don't know. I don't push for anything. I don't try to get things anywhere, because I'm providing a service. I'm being paid money. So the idea of getting this out, it'd be lovely, but I can't be bothered to push to do that. If it happens, it'll have nothing to do with me. It's like, for example, I mean, I've said this before. My music that I write for this, the way that publishing works is, I do write all this music. It then the publishing goes to, I can't remember. I don't even know what record company I'm signed. I swear to you, that's how bad it is. I honestly don't know. It could be BMG, it could be Sony. I don't know who it is. Anyway, the stuff goes from BBC Worldwide, and the publishing gets signed by this company. They put out library music discs, and it's all available, all this library music. I have thousands of tracks out there as library music. I don't know the titles of because they change first of all, they come to you going, will you prepare this? Will you give us stems? Which I never do. Will you give us the titles? I don't know what the titles are. They're just called random time codes. So they give them their own titles. So before now, I had a director call me and go, hey, we're using some of your library music. We're using a track called, kind of, I don't know, Pussycat Doll. I don't know. And I was trying to go, so yeah, could we have that version without the piano or something? And I'm there going, I have no idea what you're talking about. I have no idea what track you're talking about. I don't have a clue. All I know is every quarter I get a check with some money because people have used it. But I honestly don't. If people find tracks of mine online, it's nothing to do with me. I've had no dealings with it whatsoever. Right. They have given it the title they've given it, so I don't know.
And there you go. There's the answer to that one. Right. We're going to give Ty a little bit of a break now, and give.
To be fair, it's giving everyone else a break from incessant talking.
No. Yeah. You're the guest. That's what we do. And maybe Kent can think up of some questions to ask. I'm sure you've got some.
I've got quite a few, actually.
Good. Okay. Well, we'll come straight back to you after we've done Synthspirations. I want to get this one in there because we haven't had a third party, because I think I did one a couple of weeks ago. So this one came in the post just the other day. It's from Gur. I'm just going to stick with Gur, and he sent it to me, and I thought it was very well done, and there's some really good stuff in there, but mostly the production in this one is incredibly good. So sit back and enjoy this Synthspirations from Gur.
Hi, my name's Jer, and welcome to my version of Synthspirations. So where to start? Well, I remember back, I suppose, the earliest time when I was about 10 years old, and I was in the back of a friend's car, and we were driving along, and his dad put on a tape. Remember those things? And then this sound just came out of the speakers, and I'd never heard anything like it. And it was actually Donna Summer with I Feel Love. Wow, the Moog sound, or say Moog sound, was just incredible. I just didn't know what it was, but at 10 I had to find out. So after that, the first electronic music album I ever bought was Jean-Michel Jarre's Oxygen. Not again. Sorry about this. Would you be quiet? Thank you. You can't mention JMJ without, the MS kicking off. Right, so where was I? Okay. Wow. Just the sounds, the production, the panning of effects just took me and transported me just to a different place. I actually wore that tape out where I actually had to save up and buy another copy. The next one on my list would have been Kraftwerk's Autobahn, with its, mechanical and futuristic sound. And it just painting a landscape just using electronic instruments was just brilliant. I couldn't get over how they were making car sounds with synths. And then I just had to find out more about them, and you just end up buying every single album belonged to them because they were such innovators. So, as I got older, when punk landed, I was the odd kid in the corner listening to bleeps and bloops and pads and whooshes, until one fateful night when Tubeway Army landed on top of the Pops, with their alien-looking frontman, Mr. Gary Newman, performing Our Friends Electric. What an incredible sound. And the dystopian landscape they created was just brilliant. It was right up my street. So the next album was less about instrumentals and more about songwriting and just the craft of writing a song, and that was Humans Lib by Howard Jones. And the sounds he used to get out of a Jupiter 8, I was so jealous. It was just pure gear envy. Why couldn't I have his rig? I was always into sci-fi programs and all that. And when I saw the movie Blade Runner, I was blown away with the story and the visuals. But that soundtrack by Vangelis was a marriage made in heaven. I could listen to that thing forever. The things he made a CS80 do, and the concepts, brilliant. I used to read a magazine, well, remember magazines, Electronic Soundmaker, and it used to come with an actual tape cassette. And had demos of the gear and artist interviews. And included in August of 85, on that edition, was a track by Mark Shreve called Storm Column. And the sampling, the whole thing, I never heard anything like it. And I was just, what is this and how can I do it? And it's very sad to see that he's not with us anymore. So, being into sound and making sounds and mixing sounds, a good friend of mine, another sound engineer, back in the day, just kind of went, do you want to hear some serious production? And he handed me a copy of an album. And I'm sorry to say, it's poppy, but production was the album Bangs and Crashes by Go West. And it's just so much sampling and ear candy and production and panning, and it just took me to somewhere we went, that was great. How can I do that? So speaking of sampling, the next one, which I know Robbie's already mentioned, is another album by Mr. Jarre, the incredible Zuluk. What can you say? Making collages into music. And how do you make an elephant roar into music? Now, when something really kicked off, not a copyright strike. What could you say? When I heard what Liam from The Prodigy was doing on that album, Experience, with their single, Charlie. It was just sampling mayhem, and it was my version of punk. Another one, because I seem to be down the sampling route, which is just another album that just, I just listened to it again and again and again. It was basically from the masters of sampling, The Art of Noise, and their album, The Seduction of Claude Debussy. And it's just that whole mix of live instruments, electronics, styles of music, just taking Debussy to a new level. Every track is a lesson in production from the best in the game. So, I have to stop here. There's just so many great electronic albums. I could go on forever. But this is just my small attempt at it. I hope you enjoyed it. It's quite simple. For all the guys in Pro Synth Network, keep up the good work.
Thank you, Jer. That was
Ah.
great.
That was brilliant.
I
That
tell
was
you what.
absolutely brilliant.
We need to ask her, are you a brother from another mother? Because that could have been my inspirations right there.
I think we're finding this a lot. That there are threads. There are common threads.
Yeah.
Because we're all of a certain age, and we're all into certain types of music. So yeah,
Well,
but
some
it's
of us
nice.
are.
I mean, nice to see. I was very happy to see Go West in there because I was a huge Go West fan. That, especially that first album was just, it was epic. It was really good. It was the kind of peak of great songwriting, but also that sort of big 80s production. And his voice, Peter's voice, is just astounding.
The Julian Mendelssohn 12-inch remix of We Close
Yeah.
Our Eyes is still something.
It is,
that
yeah,
makes me go,
yeah. It's just
Wonderful.
great. It's really
Wonderful.
good. Who else? Oh, Mark Shreve. Great to see Mark Shreve get a nod.
Absolutely.
In there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Really, really good. Of course,
And
Art
I
of Noise,
remember that track. I remember that
Legion,
track.
Yeah.
I remember it being on that cassette because
Yes.
I listened to it on. Yeah. I had that magazine too.
Yeah.
So I had that magazine and loved that track. So
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, Art of Noise and the Seduction of Claude Debussy, which for me is probably my second or third favourite Art of Noise album, because after they kind of split away from ZTT and that and did for me they just became a little. And I daren't say this in front of JJ's face, but just it didn't have the I don't know what the word is.
Punch, quality.
Yeah, I don't know. It was just it was different. I mean, they had hits, great, but the Seduction of Claude Debussy I thought was a great return to form, although JJ obviously wasn't involved in that. And I've just saw the other day that the new incarnation, The Art of This, is supposed to be doing a live performance in Germany, in Hamburg, I think it is. Because that incarnation is Gary Lang and JJ, Paul Morley. So that'll be interesting. But anyway, brilliant. Jer, however you pronounce it, I have no idea. Although it did kind of say at the start there, but I just Jer. Thank you. That was really
good.
Yeah.
And I love the way. Also, love the way that and he told me this in his email that he said, "Don't worry, there's nothing that's going to get you a copyright strike. I have recreated all these little snippets.
It's brilliant.
Yeah, that was just.
I mean,
dead
mainly the amount of time and effort that would have been involved to do that. So hats off, absolutely brilliant. I'll tell you for a fact, when I do mine, I won't be asked to do all of that kind of. My production skills will be zero. So that's fantastic. Yeah,
Shocking.
True.
No, that's really good. But of course, you don't have to go to that level of effort. Most of our people have just sat down in front of a camera, whipped out a few records like I did, albeit I did mine for about half an hour.
Yeah, we know. We know.
Yeah, I know. Well, we had time to kill. It was a news-free week. But you can just put that onto video, send it to us, and this is what you do. We want to know what music inspired you to make music with synthesizers. Be it an album, single, or an entire artist's body of work, we want you to tell us why it inspired you, and given that we're a synth show, which instruments used on that album really made an impact. All you need to do is film yourself talking about your synthspiration for a few minutes, and we'll feature it on the show and discuss it. Send your video clips along with your name or handle to prosynthnetwork@gmail.com using a file sharing service like WeTransfer, and you could feature on a ProSynth Network live show soon. That's all you got to do. Just film your stuff, send it via WeTransfer to prosynthnetwork@gmail.com. I will actually get round to doing an official email address for that very soon. But yeah, you can do that and send it over to us. That would be fantastic. And you'll get featured on the show, and you'll also have the video put up ad-free on Patreon and for YouTube channel members as well. So that's another benefit of subscribing to those services. Right. Let's see. We've got Ty Unwin with us. We're talking about Walking with Dinosaurs, the second series. Is it actually called Walking with Dinosaurs 2, or is it just Walking with Dinosaurs? I don't know.
I can't believe you're asking me as if I know.
As if you care.
I don't really know. That's honestly, I don't. I really don't.
If you want to watch it, it's on the BBC, but it's going to be syndicated around the world, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Absolutely, it is. I do just need to tell you this story, and I'm sure she won't mind me telling you this. So, Sophia, Dom's wife.
Yes.
The amazing, wonderful Dom. She sent me a lovely message saying, just watched it. Oh my God, it's absolutely amazing. Fantastic. I love the music. It's absolutely brilliant. Blah, 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 blah. And I went, oh, thank you so much for your kind words. And, she called me a couple of days later and she's going, I've watched 3 episodes now. It's just fantastic. But why didn't you have your name on the credits? And I went, well, it is on the credits. And she went, oh no, it's some bloke called Ben. And I went, okay. What you've done there is she went, what? No. And I went, yeah, my music's nothing like that. She then had to send me a message about the next day, turning around and going, oh, actually, I've watched the right ones now. Oh, I see what you mean. Your music's so much better. Oh, bless Sophia's little socks. I love her to bits. But yeah, she was sending me all these kind words, and it was nothing to do with me. But I've had that before. I've done series where I just occasionally you come up with you work on a TV series where they literally just want a handful of tracks, literally a titles, a credits, and a couple of themes in the middle or something. And I've had people turning around and going, "Oh, we loved your music on this series. It was absolutely amazing. That track at the end of that scene, oh, it's absolutely brilliant. You should be so proud of that." I don't know what the track was. It was nothing to do with me. I didn't write it. It was just some track they'd used from somewhere else. I don't know. So I'm used to that. Yeah.
Cool. Right, Mr. Spong, you said you had questions.
Yeah. I can't remember.
Great. Well, thanks for that.
No, all right. Here's one for you. Have you, at any point, considered teaching?
Okay. So that's a long one. So many years ago, I did a few years doing A-level music tech to teach, specialise in composition, which was fun. But I was the world's worst teacher, and I mean, just in terms of I became a sixth former again. That's basically it. I just became a sixth former, and they all did really well. They all got great grades. But I mean, my method of teaching was. Yeah, I don't think you could do it today. There's too much swearing involved, and then after that, I actually got offered a teaching composition at Huddersfield because I went to Huddersfield Uni, and I got offered a lecturing job up at Huddersfield Uni, and so it was all going to go ahead. It was all fine, and I was living in the Midlands, and I was going to go up to Huddersfield, so it's about a 2.5 hour journey, and I was going to drive this every Monday to teach degree composition, specialising in TV. All good. And I did the first week, and I went up and I did the day, and it was great, and everyone said, oh, that's fantastic, that's brilliant, so glad you're on board, blah blah blah. So that was good. And then on the Friday before the following Monday, again, because I'm doing TV work, and one of the projects I was working on, this was at the stage where I was working on 4, 5, 6 projects all at the same time, and one of the series I was working on completely changed their schedule, and so I had to be working on this program on that Monday. So I called them and went, oh, actually, I'm really not going to be able to make it up this Monday. I'm really sorry. And they went, no, that's fine. We understood the situation. We understand that there would be weeks that you wouldn't be able to make it. So that's not a problem. And then went, oh, actually, and the Monday afterwards, I definitely won't be able to because I'll get a deadline on the Tuesday. And actually, looking at it now, I'm not sure about the Monday after that. Anyway, it worked out that having done my one day, which was fantastic, and everyone's really happy, I basically had to kind of say, yeah, I don't think this is going to work. But I mean, the problem is with me anyway is I'm just too sweary to be a lecturer, someone of authority, and plus the fact that I just give away all the tricks because I have no problem telling anyone all the tricks. I've always said time and time again, this is all trickery, this is all smoke and mirrors, and I'll just give everyone the information they need, and then I'll never get any more work because they'll just know how I've got away with it for the last 30 years. So, but that's fine.
Admit, I was thinking more along the lines of you doing it like this, in this environment type of thing.
Who would give a monkey's listening to what the hell I
think
say?
you'd
This
be
is what I
surprised.
always say.
I think you'd be surprised. But you'd be able to swear as much as you want.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Someone
like
asked
that.
what your pseudonym is in the adult film industry.
Mr. Egg.
Yes,
Mr. Egg.
Or Signora Egg.
brilliant.
Whilst we're on a humorous note, Wagyu wants to know which scales gave you the most problems. Stegosaurus? Ba-dum. And also, if Ty had to have a dinosaur as a pet, which one would you choose?
Oh, you see, it's at this point I was trying to come up with something really witty and clever there, and then just thought my brain just went into witty, clever, and then it just went nah.
Anonymous.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, never want to see you again, Saurus. Yeah.
Yes.
Jet, our Synthspirations guy, wanted to know: was there a specific patch or sound per dinosaur?
Yeah, there were. Yeah, some of the themes around dinosaurs. It wasn't just melody. It was or just harmony. There were some sound signatures. But now you're going to turn around and go, which ones? And I mean, I'm not being funny. I can't remember what I had for dinner at lunchtime. Never mind what I worked on, kind of months ago. So yeah, but there was a lot of textural kind of themes as well. Again, that's a subtle thing that a lot of people were there going, well, I couldn't really hear the theme, but you're there going, no, but if you'd listen to that distorted electric guitar, every time the distorted electric guitar came in, that was its motif. Again, it's just clever crap. There were lots of synth patches.
So, instruments. Now, you said earlier that you've got almost every orchestral sample library known to man.
Mm-hmm.
So, what are the ones that you favour? What other synthesizer instruments were on this particular production?
Okay, I'm going to turn around straight away and say there was the if you turn around instruments, software instruments, all the samples were Contact. So in terms of Contact libraries, there's huge. It's so it's either Contact or Sign Player, which is Orchestral Tools engine. The Rob, it's a Falcon, but not so much Falcon. It is mainly Sign Player or Contact. In terms of synths, huge amounts of Omnisphere. With lots of libraries from Matt from the Unfinished. There's lots of libraries there, and also an American company called String Audio. String Audio do great libraries for Omnisphere. Most of them had some kind of tweaking, but again, the days of me writing patches from scratch when it comes to this kind of stuff, they're kind of gone, because I've said this before. There was a day when I had like a handful of bits of gear and I knew it all like the back of my hand, and every patch was literally start off with an init patch and build it up, and that was my patch. I don't have the time to do that when the great people like Matt, who just spend their entire lives writing these amazing patches. So I'm not arrogant enough to think that I can just come along with the 20 minutes I've got before I write this cue to completely write a patch. So there's loads of great presets from there. Loads of Diva and Zebra. I mean, that's kind of the standard. But in terms of contact libraries, there are certain people when they do kind of more orchestral stuff who want it to be authentic in inverted commas. So in other words, they only use libraries by the same teams recorded in the same rooms, because if they want it to sound authentic, they think it needs to all be done in the same room. So if you basically start down the Spitfire route or the orchestral tools route, they all use their own halls, or the VSL route, they all use their own halls. And so therefore, if you put all of them together, theoretically, it sounds authentic because you're all in the same space. That, for me, doesn't work at all. Not that it doesn't work. It's not what I'm trying to do. Sure. At no point am I trying to convince the listener that this is a real orchestra. I mean, don't get me wrong, a lot of it on occasions does sound very real, but that's not the aim. The aim is I will use any patch that I want, any articulation from any library, if it serves the purpose that I want it to serve. So there was lots of kind of safe pick strings. There will literally be a legato patch from one library and a pizzicato from another library, the Colegno from another library, a motion one from somewhere else, and they all as long as it gets the sound that I've got in my head, the sound that I want, I have no problem with it. Does it sound real? I don't care. It's just a sound that I have. It's a bit like, kind of the Pet Shop Boys when they use, for example, when they use strings or string libraries or real orchestras. They're not bothered what it is. It's does it get the sound that they want, and that's kind of how I view the whole thing. Does it do what I want? I don't care if it sounds real or doesn't sound real. It's it is what it is.
Yeah.
There were some bits of hardware. The Schmidt was on it. The Osmos was used. There are a couple of CS8, believe it or not. It sounds so awful to say. There's a CS80 on it, and it literally plays about 3 notes. There are good 3 notes, really good 3 notes.
They better
but
be.
it is literally 3 notes. But yeah, there's quite a few bits of Osmos on it and Schmidt. And hardware wise, I think that might be it. I don't think there was a lot else. Everything, but again, it's the instant recall. It's just so much quicker and easier. To do it in the box.
Can you tell all the people at home here roughly how much the full Vienna Pro costs?
Oh, everything that they do. I mean, I've got everything that they do.
Yeah. That whole package.
I don't know what the latest is, but I mean, it's going to be way upward of. It's way past 20 grand. I mean, way past that. I mean. If initially, so back in the day, they used to have what was called the VSL Cube. That's now moved on with Synchron Player, but they used to have the VSL Cube. And I think back then, and we're talking 15 years ago, 20 years ago, probably 20 years ago, I think it was about £8,000, £9,000 then, about 15, 20 years ago. Yeah. That has now moved on. The libraries, that is a small proportion of what they do. Actually, do you know what? I think about it, it's going to be closer to more like kind of 30 grand if you buy everything that VSL do. It's a huge, but the VSL stuff is fantastic. Yeah. It is absolutely. But again, the main thing is the way VSL sell it is. It's a very dry recording, and this was the big difference back in the day between them and East West, and now Spitfire and Orchestral Tools. The VSL make a big thing of it's a very dry recording. It's a very European sound, and this is why it works with some things. But if you want the big Hollywood sound, VSL is less obvious. Yeah. I mean, you can make it sound that way, but it's a less obvious choice. People don't realise that European orchestras sound very different to American orchestras, not just in the acoustics, but the way they play very differently, use of vibrato and whatever. And but again, I have no problem with, I'll use whatever it is as long as it sounds good. I don't care what it is. Yeah, I don't care where it's from or what it is.
Steve wants to know, what's your favourite piano library?
This score doesn't have a huge amount of piano. I mean, as in really very little. I actually, because I've got I'm really fortunate. I've got a CFX concert grand in the lounge, and so the plan was always that I was going to use real piano on it, and that was always the plan. And then every time I'd come to do it, and I'd realise that on a cue I'd have like 2 piano notes. It was literally like an octave every now and again, and it literally got to the stage where I was thinking, there's really no point in going and setting up a whole mic system up there to do it all. So I didn't. There's not a lot of piano on this. I mean, I've got, again, pianos are they're like cars, really. Everyone is different. Everyone thinks that there's 2 types of piano. There's an upright piano and there's a grand piano, and that's not true. Every single piano, forget the library, every piano sounds different. So every library sounds completely different, even to the extent that VSL do. Every manufacturer, from Bosendorfer, Fazioli, Yamaha, Steinway, and they all sound different. At the moment, obviously, the not the fad, but it's the kind of upright felt piano is very much en vogue. And the Westwood, the new Westwood Alt Grand is really nice from that point of view. Westwood, if you've not discovered Westwood samples, they're really good. Outside of that, I tell you one I really like, because obviously I've got a real CFX. Back in the day, Garriton did a CFX library, and that is quite old now. It's quite a big library. It's quite old, but the main thing is with piano libraries is that as a pianist, it's not so much even to do with what it sounds like. There's some instruments that are just immensely playable, if that makes sense. And it's all about playability. When it comes to piano libraries, this is why if you go and buy, I've got for stage stuff, I've got a Nord Stage 2. And the grand piano on that is only, I think it's about half a gig. It's about 500 meg, for the piano, for each piano. And so you're thinking this shouldn't actually sound that good, because all the other libraries I'm talking about are gigs and gigs and gigs and gigs and gigs. There, some of them are up in the 120, 130 gig for one piano sound. This is half a gig, and yet if you sit down and play it, it's one of the most playable piano sounds. So I would rather use that than something that has all the gigs in the world but isn't as playable. And there's something about that CFX Garriton which is just is a really playable instrument. Don't start me off on piano libraries, because I just
we shan't. We just didn't. We shan't.
Thank you. Thank you.
That's okay. Well, we've got about half an hour left of the show, and we've got a few more questions to get in, but there has been some news, and a couple of bits are quite interesting, and I would like not only our regular people to talk about them, but also I'd like to get Ty's thoughts, because they are his opinion is well thought of, well respected. So this is something that is happening right now on Kickstarter. I really like it. I've pledged for it. This is from a company who go by the name of it's just gone Amitech, and this is the AR110. So there you go. This is available now to order on Kickstarter. This is the website, and we'll go to the Kickstarter page to see how they're getting on. This is dead simple. It's a little box. It has 5 drum sounds. It has 6 voice polyphony. The drum sounds have a kind of a Roland quality to them. On the back of the unit, you've got 6 audio outputs, 5 for the individual drums, and then a mix output. There's a MIDI in port, and there's a power supply port, and that is it. There's nothing more, nothing less. It's a very simple drum synthesizer, and just today they announced that the sounds themselves will be tweakable from an external source. Let me just bring this up here. Yes, the AR110 will be tweakable while staying true to the core concept of a minimalist performance-focused, screen-free experience. We've decided to introduce sound controls that will let you adjust the character of each drum voice directly without menus or displays. More details and photos coming in an update. So they're taking on board feedback as the Kickstarter is going on. Now, the Kickstarter, their goal is in UK pounds, 7,279. They've got 68 backers. They're almost there. It's just over $5,000 so far, with just 23 days to go. This hasn't been around for long. Just to give you an idea of what you get, let me just go back to where do I go back to the main page? Here we go, campaign. So, if you want to pledge for one of these, it is the early. In fact, here we go. There. So, early birds. There are just 3 of these left. So, if you want an early bird, it's going to cost you 67 quid, which is nothing for something like this. 123 Canadian dollars. For that, you get the synthesizer, audio and power cable, and ships anywhere in the world, mostly free. To Europe, US, and I believe I didn't get charged any shipping when I put my pledge in. The next one is the non-early bird, so it's only £73. The one I've gone for is this one, which I think is incredibly good value for money. 85 quid gets you all of that, plus you get all of the audio cables, the breakout audio cables that go from 3.5 to full-size jacks. And that's 85 quid, and they've still got plenty of those available. I just really, really, really liked the simplicity of this thing, and it actually sounded really, really nice. Anybody else fancy pledging for one of those?
If I didn't have drum machines and drum synths coming out of my bum, I would absolutely, because for that kind of money, I mean, it just seems remarkable. It just seems, it almost seems undoable in this day and age. It really does, because be realistic. If someone bought out a software version of that with the tweakable, depends on how tweakable it is, but realistically, if they bought out kind of a software version of it, and someone turned around and went, okay, you can have it for 60 quid, you'd kind of go, 60 quid seems a lot. This day and age, unfortunately, some people will moan if it people still moan at iPad apps that cost $4.99. But they'd go, but it's but it would be a good deal as software. So as hardware, more to the point, with individual outs, and this is the biggie. This is the real biggie, is the fact that the moment you get individual outs, old school means essentially you have to have some kind of mixer to make the most of it, or good audio interface to make the most of it. But the reality is, individual outs means that you can change those sounds, so they don't sound anything like, forget the tweaking internally. You can do lots and lots with external effects and EQ and filters, etc., etc. I think for me personally, because I looked at this, I'm not going to get one, only the fact that I have all of those sounds in duplicate 10 times over. But if I didn't, I know it sounds like very much an Andrew term of being, it's just a no-brainer, and this is extraordinary. But it's fantastic, great value for money. Yeah,
Gents on the right, any thoughts on this?
Well, actually, sort of ditto. I mean, I've got the TR8, I've got 2 CR78s, I've got an LM1, I've got an SR95, I've got a TR55. But again, if I didn't have them, jump on it. Yeah. Especially that price, brilliant.
That's it. I mean, I don't know if we've been responsible, but they've just had another 2 or 3 backers.
Yeah, there you go.
Clock through. I like the fact that this is not a drum machine. This is a drum synthesizer.
I agree. I agree completely. Yeah.
It's just so simple. Andrew?
Well, I've similarly got drum machines coming out my ear holes and drum samples and God knows what else. But unlike you, I'm going to be buying one of these. I was looking at it and thinking, well, it doesn't have toms. So, if I've got toms coming out my ears if I want them, and most tracks are built up using the kick, the snare, the hats, and some percussion and whatever, your claps. it will do. There'll be hits made with this, and I think Ty's right in that because it's got individual outs. I tend to do most of my processing in the DAW or through a mixer of some sort. And I can make it sound however the blinking hell I like, and drive it and do whatever. I think it's for the price. The other thing is for me, because I'm going to be doing a lot of mentoring. I'm already doing quite a bit. It's a great device to give to someone to say, look, go and play with this. Go and learn about programming. To coming up with drum riffs using this. Use one of your other things to make this. And it gives them everything they need for that style of music. I think it sounds great. I'm going to be buying one.
Yeah. Is it extraordinary?
It is astonishing.
Oh, astonishing! Oh, I got it wrong.
We need an Andrew bingo card. That's what we need. Yeah. I saw this. And
it's a no-brainer.
What's
it is.
There is no catch. It's just dead simple. Nice little analog drum.
Right,
synth.
good.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, it's very, very nice. They're based in Canada. It's a one-man. Yes, it is a one-man operation. I have reached out to them. I'm going to see if I can get them onto the show. And this is the interesting thing. I've got according to UPS, I've got a package arriving tomorrow from another independent developer of a brand new drum synthesizer, which I got very excited about. They approached me and said, what do you think? Is this something that could sell? And we had a conversation, and they're going for it, and they're going to be doing it on Kickstarter. And funnily enough, they approached the gentleman behind Amitech, and they've been collaborating, just to get them onto the Kickstarter ladder, so to speak. So there's going to be more interesting drum synthesizers coming our way, and we'll have a bit of an exclusive on this new one because between me and the developer, they're the only machines currently in existence. So hopefully we'll have some more content. And not
forgetting that because it's made in Canada, go back Canada,
yeah, absolutely, no tariffs there. Certainly not if you live outside of the United States. Anyway. That is that. There's also another drum machine, and I'll just play a snippet of this one because it is a fairly long demo. But this is a drum machine in as much as it has patterns as well as sounds. This is from Audio.Computer. It's called Beat Friend. I'm going to stop it there because it does go on a little bit, and it's quite a slow burner. But Beat Friend is the product. It's made by Audio.Computer. It's their first machine. It's an analog drum machine. It basically has 30 preset patterns, but within those 30 preset patterns, as you saw with the sliders there, you can adjust the complexity of the trigger for the 6 drum sounds in the machine. So you've got a kick, a snare, a cymbal, 2 toms, and a pair of claves, I believe is the 6th one. And you can vary the complexity of each of those instruments within the 30 patterns. You can also vary the pitch, you can also vary the tempo, and you can also vary the time signature, which will then make the built-in patterns behave in a different way. On the left-hand side, and I'll see if I can get a fuller picture here. I think I might have to go to the Soundgas page to do that. So yeah, let's just go into here. So on the left hand side you have 3 controls, one for the decay, and then one called enthusiasm and the other one called jazz. Enthusiasm just ramps up the complexity of everything, or decreases it. And Jazz just makes things go a little bit weird and wild. And if you watch the demo, you'll see what I mean, or hear what I mean anyway. And then, of course, there's a fill button. You might kind of think the sounds are familiar, and that is because the drum voices are based on the chips used in the Roland CR78, so there's a familiarity to that. But you'll also notice that it has MIDI in and MIDI out, and this means that you can create your patterns or mess around with the patterns that are built into this and transmit all of those triggers out of the MIDI. So you can use this to control other drum sounds, or other you can track it to a door. You can do all sorts of different things with it, as well as trigger everything externally, and you can also mess around with the drum sounds using MIDI CCs. The last thing is on the right there, you'll see 3 little yellow controls. This is the effects section, but they don't actually tell us what the effects are. They say that there are some digital effects and some analog effects, and they basically mess around with the sound. And again, watch the video, you'll kind of get an idea of what it does, and it's quite interesting. This is available exclusively through Soundgas, and as you can see there, it's not cheap. It's certainly not AR110 price. This is 500 quid. First batch has already sold out. Pre-order now for a November-December delivery. Given that we've just seen a drum synthesizer for effectively 65 quid, and now we've got this for 500. Good, bad, indifferent? What do you reckon?
Well,
I mean,
oh, hang on. Let's get settled. Here we go.
go on. Go on, Ty. Go on, Ty.
well, look, I've got to be honest here. And I got the Soundgas email about this a few days ago, and just I looked at it and just went, oh God. I listened to it and just went, oh no, this is not no. And then I watched one of Kent's afternoon pubs, was it a couple of days ago, whatever, and you were talking about it then, and I had looked at it then and thought, oh actually there's a few things that I missed. That I didn't get that far in the video, and now I've just watched it now, having just turned around and said I've got them coming out of my bum. I'm thinking, I wonder if I can squeeze another one up there. because I don't know what it is, and I don't know whether it's just because I'm in a good mood, I ate well, kind of got my oats last night. I don't know what it is, but for some reason, I'm looking at this now and just thinking, oh, okay, I'm kind of getting how this could be. I mean, the 30 preset patterns, that seems fine, but you then, if you watch it, you can obviously change the time signature. So that obviously opens up a lot of variation, and the complexity thing's very clever. And the enthusiasm and there's lots of reasons to actually turn it into a kind of a proper creative tool. And I think when I first watched the video, I just saw it of another, kind of drum machine that was just trying to be a CR78. I'm not saying I'm definitely going to get one, but honestly, I'm a half mast, put it like that. And it's
got a semi.
Yeah, basically. And it's worked its magic on me third time round. That's been said before. So
yeah. So they say. Gents, thoughts on this?
Well, I must admit, at the beginning of the video, I thought, oh, I quite like the fact that it doesn't sound like a CR78. Instead of it trying to sound like a CR78 and then failing. So, and then I thought, oh, the trigger outs. Oh, yeah, okay. Because it could be here and it's easy to get to and you can mess around with it. And then if I want to have it trigger some of the drum libraries I've got, so much the better. Then I saw the fucking price. No. It was like, beautiful sports car, and right at the last minute, let's turn it into a tree, And I thought, no, the price has let that down. So,
yeah.
And also, as a side note, I've seen Ty's arse, and there's plenty of room for a load more.
Dear, oh dear.
Look, the thing I know what you're saying, Kent, not about my arse, about the machine.
Yeah.
But the if you think about the trigger outside thing, so I've got a DRM, one of the Vermonas, a DRM 1 mark, whichever mark it is. I mean, I'm just thinking a combination of something like that and a DRM 1. I don't know. I just think there's something quite charming about it. I know what you mean about the price. I do, especially as you say, when we've just seen something really fantastic at a really fantastic price. And sound-wise, let's be honest, sound-wise, you're not really going to be able to pick between them because sound-wise, they're both, by their very nature, a bit crap. But that's the nature of the that's the nature of the sound. So you're not turning around and going, well, for that extra, kind of 440 quid, you're getting anything improvement in sound-wise because you're not. And you're not getting individual outs. So you could turn around and go, okay, that's a limitation. But from a creative, inspirational tool, I just think there's something quite charming that could possibly.
I love that thing about the variations as well. You can get happy
great.
Accidents, but that price.
Yeah, I know. I understand.
No.
I get that.
I get that.
So
let's just, I said no. The reason I said no is just simply I really like the idea. I really like the idea of the variations on each slider. That's kind of cool, but that's not 500 quid's worth of cool. It doesn't have individual outputs as far as I can tell looking at all the pictures.
No, it doesn't, I don't think.
And it has MIDI, but guess what? I can get something doing this with a bunch of MIDI plugins that do all the variations I want, that will throw in additional things. There's lots of stuff out there does this already. It's not in the box, but I've got lots of things that do, the one thing this has going for it is those sliders and the way it adds variations in. That will be a quick way to build up something. The sound's not that good. It doesn't have individual outputs. 500 quid? No. Get real.
Yeah.
Get
It's
real.
interesting. We'll see how it goes, but I think the price is probably a little on the steep side. But I can see.
Do you know
people
where it's
who's really cool
manufactured?
things. Where it's in the UK. It's UK
There you
based.
go.
Well, there you
That's
go.
why.
Put
go.
the individual outs on it. It's a different story. It really is a different story.
Well, in that case, if it's made here, that's actually not a bad price at all.
True. Yeah.
When you focus on it from that particular point of view, because it is incredibly difficult to make anything, cost effective here.
Yeah. Couple of quickies because we're fast running out of time. This I'm not even going to play the video because they haven't even provided a nice short little promo. Just a live performance which I can't play because I'll get slapped with a copyright strike. So I've gone. Gosh, why do I do this? I pressed the wrong button. This is brand new from Arturia. I say brand new. It's an update.
It's not brand new. It's white.
No. It's white and it's had a firmware update which has introduced the new vocoder mode. So if you buy the vocoder edition, you get the gooseneck mic thrown in. But don't fret if you already own, like myself, a Mini Freak, which is an exceptionally good synthesizer. All you got to do is just update the firmware and you get all the capability. You just have to plug your own microphone in. I've yet to see, and I can't remember whether I asked them this at Super Booth, whether that gooseneck mic is available.
They will.
Separately. I think it will.
They will.
Be, yeah.
They did it with the micro. They'll do exactly the same with this.
Yeah. The reason
and it'll be great.
Apparently the reason this is got its own little sort of like footstand is because they did try and do a version that kind of clipped to the frame of the Mini Freak, but you were getting too many vibrations through and it just wasn't working. So it's a separate entity now, but you can actually place your Micro Freak on top of that and it sits quite nicely. But that's why they're doing it like that. But it's a new engine. There's a new update. It's had some bug fixes, and it's also got a new sound bank that takes advantage of the vocoder. It's a 16-band vocoder. You can feed external audio through, or you can feed internal sounds from the Mini Freak's existing engines through that, and come up with some really cool sounding stuff. It's a very nice little upgrade and addition to what is, I believe, one of their finest instruments out there. I mean, bang for buck for it's
agreed.
I mean,
totally agreed. Yeah,
I think UK price of the regular one. I think actually no, the UK price of this is like 525 quid, which when you consider how many sound generating options you have that you can see on the screen right there, it's just incredible. I know. Have you got one of these, Ty?
Yep.
Yep.
Absolutely
Guys,
fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah, it is a silly question. Yeah. But does this tempt you to buy into this? Because when they brought the vocoder out on the Micro Freak, it was a real revelation because nobody realised that headphone socket.
Yeah, the input.
Was also a
was actually an
microphone.
input. Yeah.
Very clever. Hid that very well. But this one obviously wasn't so hidden because there was a dedicated audio input. But
I mean, the only problem I've got is everyone knows that I love white synth. So I mean, I'm looking at this going, oh, it's white. But it's one of the very few occasions I have to be brutally honest and go, I actually think it looks better. That particular instrument looks better in black. The biggest problem I really will have is if they don't bring out the mic in black. Because the thought of having a white mic on a black synth, don't. Honestly, my OCD I will end up just buying a new,
Crayon.
no.
What's wrong with crayon? God.
Yeah.
No, it's something else that's going to be on the transit van, isn't it? You just spray this as well while you're doing all the others.
The
my
truth
job.
is, the mini Freak's a great instrument. Go and buy one. You get a vocoder for free. I have to say, I'm not that impressed with the vocoder on this, but that's only from the demos I've seen. I've not tried it out. I've heard better vocoders, but buy the synth anyway. This is
It's a great synth. It is an
absolute
absolute great synth.
Or just update the firmware. You get the vocoder thrown in. Prove me
and
wrong.
also just to mention, because Mini Freak hardware comes with the Mini Freak plugin, Mini Freak V. That's also been updated to version 4, so that has all of the facilities. And of course, they made Mini Freak V available on its own. So if you already own Mini Freak V, you should have had the notification to update yesterday, and you get all of these. So you just plug a microphone into your computer and route the audio through, and away you go. It's simple as that. It's good fun. So there you go. That is the Mini Freak Vocoder Edition with version 4 software available to all Mini Freak owners. And the last thing, which was a little interesting one, was this from Rhodes Music. Of course, we know Rhodes Music and Dan Goldman, who has rejuvenated the brand here in the UK, coming out of Leeds. They do the amazing Rhodes Mark 8 hardware, which is a stunning thing. Has yours arrived yet, Ty?
Don't. Thank you.
Okay,
It was meant to arrive in April, and now apparently it's going to be July or August. So thanks for reminding me. Thank you.
Okay, I'm sorry. But they did do some software versions of that. They did a Rhodes V8 Pro and a Rhodes V8 Standard plugin, which was sampled from the Mark 8. Then they did the Rhodes Anthology, which was a bunch of sampled older Rhodes instruments in a package. They did a little tie-in with our friends at Cherry Audio, so they now have the Rhodes Chroma plugin, which is the same as the Cherry Audio plugin. And now we've got Rhodes Whirly, and they've taken a Wurlitzer 200A, and they've sampled that deeply. And we now have the Rhodes Whirly plugin, which currently it should be $89.95 UK, is currently on offer with 30% off at $62.97. You can download a 14-day trial. It sounds rather nice, but it's not like we don't already have a bunch of really good Wurlitzer sample libraries out there. So is this needed? As somebody did mention, is this a sign that maybe Rhodes are going to be starting to remanufacture Wurlitzer pianos in the flesh, in hardware? That would be interesting. But anybody rushing out to buy this one?
Well, I've got the other ones in the package. The Rhodes, they're fantastic. They are really, really, really good. If I'm totally brutally honest, the only problem I have with them is they've been sampled really, really well, but they're not exactly the most characterful of samples. Right. Does that make sense? They're very clean and they're lovely. They're really fantastic, but they're very clean. Some of my favourite ones are by companies like Sonicature, who do, and the same with the Whirly. They do their Rhodes and their Whirly, and they're very characterful. They're not perfect, but they're again playable. It's back to the whole playable thing. But they're Rhodes is their other libraries are very playable, very lovely. Yeah. But right at this moment, do I really want another Whirly? I mean, it is literally another Whirly, and I have to be honest with you and go, I'm not going to rush. At some point, I'm sure at Christmas or whatever, they'll knock these out at some 50% off, and then I'll probably have one. But not at this. Not
I mean, if I want that sound, I tend to go to the Arturia one simply because I know it quite well. It's nice. This didn't really sound wildly different in any way that maybe that's interesting. You got the basic set of controls on here. You got the preamp, equalizer, vibrato, and velocity, plus a bunch of effects, and you can change between 2 different speaker setups and 2 different microphone setups. There's also a little tuning thing that you can mess around with.
But again, it may just be another one that's all down to playability. If it's like its brothers, then it'll be incredibly playable. So
Andy, Kent, final words on this?
I have. Well, it's libraries. I got something good sure like it. Baldy and what's the other one? Contact. I got the M8X one. The M8X sound is actually really, really, really nice. And again, that playability that Ty was talking about. Yeah, lovely. So, I don't need another. Well, it's not like I use Wurlitz for a lot, anyway. So, but I don't have to now because Ty says it's sampled very cleanly and it's lacking character, and because of that, and so then, no, don't have to then.
Yeah,
I'll give it.
fair enough.
Give it a bit of
I
release.
actually like the sound of this one more than I like the sound of the Rhodes plugin that they've done, just from the demos, not from playability point of view. And I guess if you're on the R&B circuit, that kind of thing, it's a must-have. Or if you're you want to do a super tramp cover band, it's got to be for you, or some blues things. It does sound pretty good, I've got to say. For me, like Kent, I've got some really good whirlies on here. I've got some sample libraries that have them on. I'm not sure I need it in my life. A bit like Ty, though, if it comes out at sort of 50% off at Christmas, I'll probably get it. But yeah. I do like the sound of the speakers and the different mics. They've done a good job with that. They have done a good job with that. Yeah. But enough.
Cool.
Don't know.
Yeah. We were going to talk about a thing called the Scarpa Sound Air. We actually were going to talk about it last week, and then we bumped it, and we're going to bump it again this week. So don't worry, because it's not even in production yet. So we're not missing out on anything there.
Just a few dinks on the side of it. That's all.
Yeah. So we've got some final little bits of questions. I know we're sort of running over time. First of all, just want to say thank you to Robert. Love is profound. Get a drugs or synth. Interesting. Something to ponder over the weekend. But thank you.
I think that's a mantra to live by.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for your donation. Much appreciated. Our wonderful friend Scott McCauley Sound, loving Kent's hair.
So am I.
£10 to the pot. Thank you very much indeed, gentlemen. Your donations are greatly appreciated. Thank you. And thank you to everyone else who has donated either recently or today or before. We appreciate everything. Jim wants to know, Ty, what's next that you can talk about? Anything?
Right at this moment, I'm doing some of the Ultravox album. I can't know. Some of the Ultravox tracks have been re-released as. So I'm trying to think what I can say, and careful. So I'm doing some remixes of early tracks from the early '80s, and it's there were certain songs that 12-inch versions were never done of, or remixes were never done of. Right. So I'm kind of doing those early 80s style in the 12-inch, which is great in some ways and also incredibly limiting in other ways. So I'm doing some of those, doing Midge's next album, which we've got to do, sorting out the studio, and trying to do as little as possible, but failing miserably.
And making my life a misery at some point.
And
as well.
Making Kent's life a misery by bringing down at least one van load of stuff.
At least one van load, yeah.
Yeah, it will be. Anyway, yeah.
Well, I think we're all trying to coordinate to descend on Kent at the same point.
Well, we need people to help us carry all this crap in.
Yeah.
I'll bring a trolley. That's about all I can do.
And I need to get over to you at some point. We'll sort that out whenever. Just a
party.
Yep.
Very quickly, Redwalk's had a question. Physical modelling not an option over sample libraries?
Do you know what? There's some great physical modelling out there with the sample modelling libraries. The actual articulations and they are great. There's just a fundamental problem with them, and it's very simple. There's something tonally that they just don't from the sound I want, tonally they don't sound right, if that makes sense. Everything about the playability of it is fantastic. The articulations are brilliant. The realism of it is great. But when you do a recording of, say, for example, a cello, it's all down to the player, the instrument, and the microphone and the room. It's all down to those four things. And the way sample modeling doing it, there's just something about those four combined that just sit there with me going tonally. They don't really work for me.
Yeah, I find that with the harmonic stuff.
Yeah, it has its
Really
place,
good.
but
it sounds great, but it's something not.
Yeah.
There's something very
There's something
shiny about it rather than woody. If you know.
It's almost there. We're almost there, but right at this moment, right at this moment.
Yeah, when you think where we started and where we are now.
Oh Christ! Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
amazing. The last question in the question box was: did I enjoy my gig last night? I did. I went to see China Crisis, and I thought, well, look, they're heroes of mine. They're an exceptional band. I implore everyone, if you get a chance to see China Crisis, because they're literally always touring, and they're so damn good. Yes, I did enjoy the China Crisis gig. I got signed copies of the new remastered Flaunt the Imperfection. I spent about £100 on this. Double CDs, John Peel sessions, all that kind of stuff. I even bought a T-shirt that doesn't fit. So, go figure. Also, check out a band called Bonfire Tide. They were the support act. They're from Manchester. They're a 5-piece. They have a cellist. It was blooming brilliant. So, if you can, please go and listen to Bonfire Tide. They are fantastic, and you can thank me later. So, there we go. Gentlemen, thank you very much indeed. And, of course, Mr. Unwin, as always, thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule to come and talk to us about everything that you do and everything that you've done.
Well, this is the bit where I say anytime it's not a problem at all, but no, not anytime. No. I don't want to be back on here again in a hurry. So, and you're not even going to... No,
yeah,
get lost.
I found it hard work as well, Yeah,
I know. I mean, are you even going to mention the text that you sent me today where you turned around and went, here's the link for today's show? And I replied with yay, at which point he said, oh, for God's sake, at least try to sound excited. I'm not going to say what the reply was because I then replied with lots of sweary words.
Yeah. I want yays with
random
bells
capitals.
And capitals, exclamation marks, flowers, fireworks. That's what
there was none. So, look, it's joking aside, it's been absolutely brilliant. You know I love you all dearly, and it's been fantastic.
Likewise.
So thank you for inviting me on. I very much appreciate it.
Yeah, no, thank you ever so much for coming on. Ty Unwin, everyone. Gentlemen on the right. Plans for the weekend, apart from molesting inflatable dinosaurs?
Oh, I've done too much of that today already. I bought Siri a new collar.
You did?
Yeah, I bought her a new one because Lily ate hers offer.
Did you get my message?
Which one?
After you bought, I sent you a message. Everyone that buys something from our merch store gets a personal video message from me.
Oh,
whether you like it or not, you get one. And I sent you one saying, "Why on earth are you paying full price? I can get you those at cost."
Now he fucking tells me.
Anyway.
I never mentioned this before. Never. No. You know what? No. I will pay the same as everybody else.
I don't.
Just because I'm the star of the show. I mean, it's not a good enough reason.
Dear.
You are today. You won the internet today.
Yes.
That's true.
I'm sure Matt is probably sat in his hospital bed right now, busy clipping away.
I tell you what,
Getting your
Siri was
stitches
very
put
glad
back
when I
in.
took it off. She goes, "Thank God for that." She thought my trousers were going to eat her, essentially.
No, we've all done that.
She's not keen. Yeah, well, you have. So, but we won't go into that. That's for a late night interview.
Indeed. Any streams? Are you doing a pub at all over the weekend or anything interesting?
Possibly. I do believe tomorrow I am repairing / restoring 2 CS80s simultaneously and without a safety net.
Wow.
In stereo.
Wow.
Absolutely.
Cool. What about you, Andy?
I'm not repairing any CSAs.
Okay. Fair enough.
I'm going to
Boring.
be. Yeah, I know. I'm going to be delving further into my explorations of the ANX engine, which turns out is a bit of a beast, actually, even more than I was aware of. And I've got, I'm having fun, nerding out on the ANX at the moment. I really am. It's good fun.
Cool. Good
And
stuff.
tomorrow I'm going to be playing
Oh,
that.
Maximus.
That's
your bathroom
that's-
cabinet.
That's tomorrow's.
That's where he shaved.
Lovely. Lovely,
So
lovely.
that's yeah.
Thank you for reminding me. I forget who it was in the chat there. Gert, thank you. That support act, Bonfire Tide, are on Bandcamp. So just look for Bonfire Tide on Bandcamp. That's the album Talk of Being Saved. It's really, really good. Not very synthy, but very, very good musically. So there we go. What am I doing this weekend? Oh, I'm writing. I'm doing writing more stuff, and hopefully receiving this drum synthesizer tomorrow. And so hopefully you'll start to see a few little tidbits of that popping up on the channel. So make sure you hit the subscribe button and then ring the notification bell for when those videos come up. Don't forget, there's loads of other people doing great work within the community on YouTube. So you've got Ramsey tomorrow, I believe at 2 p.m. UK time. Andy Synchrotron will be doing his live stream from around 10 a.m. UK time tomorrow morning as well. You got Jamie, Geosynths. Big shout out to Jamie, actually, because he's had a lot of hassle this week with a certain music retailer being an absolute dick about returning a product. But he has taken delivery of his Moog Messenger, as many people seem to be doing this week, and he has thoughts. And so he's going to be sharing his thoughts this Sunday at 6 p.m. Don't also forget, get Jervis, I believe around 10 or 10:30 UK time on Sunday. You got Nick at Sonic State on the Wednesdays. There's loads of stuff. So make sure you go and
loads of
support
them now.
all of these channels. Sorry?
Yeah, there's buckets of them now.
Yeah, I know. It's just
I think
terrible.
we
They're
started
everywhere.
something.
I know, yeah. And of course, Symptoms of Reality, every day doing a show, and their challenge of doing one live stream every day for an entire year. And I think they're up to 200 and something, so that's good.
Yeah.
So,
I need to spend some time with Kent sometime over the next few days, just going through some techie things on this beast. Yeah, I just want to check my reasoning on a couple of things. So if you're around, could we spend an hour at some point?
I think so. How much you got?
you and I, Kent, need to
Sunday?
get our heads together about our Polyroot 12.
Oh God, yeah, there's
thing.
that as well,
Yeah,
isn't there?
we got that as well.
Jeez,
Time is running out. Anyway,
do you know
let's
what?
let
I'm
all
just liking how my hair colour now
Yeah.
means that people can see where my hair stops and where my headphone
yes,
thing
yeah, there is a
start,
clear
right?
distinction. Yeah,
Because before it all blended in. I looked like an 18th century sailor.
yeah,
You know,
with big old lamb
big
mutton
bushy-
chops.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good now. Makes my head look thinner.
There you go. Ken Flux Pierce in the chat has just told us that the Beat People podcast is this Saturday at 11 p.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern, which of course is 7 p.m. UK. So
And let's not
go
forget
and check
the
that
other
out.
podcast or the other event that's happening this weekend is Dina's.
Oh yes,
Alan
of course,
Perlman.
Dina. Yes, the live stream and live event at EMIAP is tomorrow. So do please go, and if you want to watch that live, you can buy a live streaming ticket, and that live stream ticket allows you to watch over and over again for an entire month. And of course, it all helps to go and help the Alan R. Perlman Foundation, which the website address is right there on your screen, alanrperlmanfoundation.org. Go to there, you'll be able to find the link to the tickets for that. And of course, if you can get to go in person, even better.
It's $27, something like that, and you get to watch it. So, and there's lots of guest artists. They're doing loads of things tomorrow. Try and do it. Try and get in there. They need all the support they can get.
And get well soon, Matt. After your,
Well, I think he's all right at the
well,
moment.
it's like, it was the equivalent, I suppose, of a gender release party in his trousers, essentially, wasn't it? So, get well soon, mate.
It was like Alien that went wrong. It came out the wrong orifice.
Yeah. Cool stuff.
God, how long does it take you lot to bloody sign off? For
I know,
God's
it's
sake.
terrible, isn't it? Absolutely terrible.
Right,
Right, we're going to go
sign
now.
on.
Bugger
Yeah,
off,
don't
the lot of
forget
you.
Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. We will see you all same time, same place next week. We don't have any guests lined up for next week's show, but the week after, we're going to be joined by Cherry Audio again, because you might have seen they've started teasing their next instrument, which is coming out on June 17th. So watch this space. But until then, have a fantastic weekend. We will see you all next week at the same time. And until then, take the greatest of care. We will see you then. Thanks again, Ty. See you soon.
2, 1.
See you soon.
Bye.